7 ago our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty, and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. The restoration of the rebel states to the Union must rest upon the principle of civil and political equality of both races, and it must be sealed by general amnesty. It is not merely for today, but for all time to come that we should perpetuate for our children's children this great and free government, which we have enjoyed all our lives. Nowhere in the world is presented a government of so much liberty and equality. To the humblest and poorest amongst us are held out the highest privileges and positions. The present moment finds me at the White House, yet there is as good a chance for your children as there was for my fathers. Thoughtful men must feel that the fate of civilization upon this continent is involved in the issue of our contest. With malice toward none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right, as God gives us to see the right, let us strive on to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds, to care for him who shall have borne the battle, and for his widow, and his orphan. He who does something at the head of one regiment, will eclipse him who does nothing at the head of 100. With us every soldier is a man of character, and must be treated with more consideration than is customary in Europe. I would like to speak in terms of praise due to the many brave officers and soldiers who have fought in the cause of the war. Men who, by fighting our battles, bear the chief burthen of saving our country. It is for us the living, rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. War at the best, is terrible, and this war of ours, in its magnitude and in its duration, is one of the most terrible. A house divided against itself cannot stand. I believe this government cannot endure permanently half slave and half free. We must not be enemies. Though passion may have strained, it must not break our bonds of affection. With malice toward none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right, as God gives us to see the right, let us strive on to finish the work we are in. If McClellan is not using the army, I should like to borrow it for a while. 7 years ago, our fathers brought forth on this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty, and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. My paramount object in this struggle is to save the Union, and is not either to save or destroy slavery. If I could save the Union without freeing any slave, I would do it. If I could save it by freeing all the slaves, I would do it, and if I could do it by freeing some and leaving others alone, I would also do that. Let us have faith that right makes might, and in that faith, let us, to the end, dare to do our duty as we understand it. I have been driven many times upon my knees by the overwhelming conviction that I had nowhere else to go. My own wisdom and that of all about me seemed insufficient for that day. 7 years ago our fathers brought forth, on this continent, a new nation, conceived in liberty, and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. I leave you, hoping that the lamp of liberty will burn in your bosoms until there shall no longer be a doubt that all men are created free and equal. Let us at all times remember that all American citizens are brothers of a common country. Why should there not be a patient confidence in the ultimate justice of the people? Is there any better or equal hope in the world? We are not enemies, but friends. We must not be enemies. Though passion may have strained, it must not break our bonds of affection. In giving freedom to the slave, we assure freedom to the free, honorable alike in what we give and what we preserve. I am a patient man, always willing to forgive on the Christian terms of repentance, and also to give ample time for repentance. We shall nobly save, or meanly lose, the last, best hope of earth. With malice toward none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right. We should be too big to take offense and too noble to give it. All through life be sure you put your feet in the right place, and then stand firm. The Lord prefers common-looking people. That is the reason He makes so many of them.